Hello and welcome to episode 76 of the Footy with Fletch podcast. I'm joined by former Hawthorn AFL player Alex Woodward. Alex played 2 AFL games for Hawthorn and unfortunately suffered 5 ACL injuries across his career. Hello Alex, thanks for joining me on the podcast today. How are you doing?
Good, thanks, Fletch. Good to be on, mate. I'm looking forward to it.
How did you sort of first get involved with footy?
Well, to be honest, mate, it's a little bit cliche and pretty similar to everyone else's story, but I picked up a footy pretty young with my old man, and we shared that connection and bond through obviously having a kick with each other when I was a little one, watching footy together on TV, and obviously going to games together as well. So very much a childhood wannabe footballer that ended up turning into reality. And yeah, mate, I've always been pretty passionate about it.
And which AFL team did you support as a youngster?
Well, my old man is from Fremantle, so he's from WA. So fair to say, I was probably one of only a handful of Fremantle supporters growing up in the '90s in Victoria. And yeah, so I definitely had a soft spot for the Purple Army, and yeah, I sort of still have a bit of a soft spot for them now. Always interested to see how they go.
And you played your junior footy with Noble Park and Dingley. What do you remember from your time in junior footy?
Yeah, I obviously played all my juniors with Noble Park. They're a great foundation team down in the southeast of Victoria. Played there right up until under 16s, where they gave me a really good platform to obviously go into the TAC program. That's what it was called then. I think it's called Coates League now. Um, After changing names a couple of times, I think it was called NAB Cup or NAB League at one stage too. But for Dingley, I only played there for one season. I had a few mates there through the Sandringham Dragons, and unfortunately could only really play there for one season. But that was a really good time too. They embraced me, but really thankful and grateful for both teams and both programs. They allowed me to obviously jump into the AFL program after that.
And what do you think were some of your highlights in footy early on before your AFL journey?
Uh, to be honest, mate, it's a lot of it is through the friendships that you make and the connections that you build. But I'd say, obviously, being a part of all those junior football programs, to be invited into state programs as well, under 16s and under 18s, they're pretty special to me as well. So a few of those boys are still obviously in the AFL now, but to represent your state at any level is pretty special.
And what's it like to sort of look back and watch the journey of teammates that you played alongside and sort of still see them playing in the AFL currently?
Yeah, mate, it's look, it's really enjoyable to see a lot of those players still playing, and really forging a legacy in many respects. It's nice to know that I shared the field with a lot of them, and yeah, I was pretty lucky to obviously one don the jumper of representing the state, like I said, and obviously playing a few AFL games as well, playing alongside with them and against them. Pretty lucky, mate. Not many players get to do that.
And was there a particular moment where you thought that you were a chance of getting drafted?
Not really, Fletch. Yeah, I always sort of had this chip on my shoulder, underdog mentality. Look, I'm not the tallest player. And I don't really have any attributes in terms of speed. But I knew that I could sort of get the footy. I liked getting my hands dirty, and I sort of made that my one wood. Thankfully, Hawthorn took a chance on me, and yeah, I was able to have some sort of a career there.
And you were selected by Hawthorn with pick 53 in the 2011 AFL draft. What was it like to be selected by Hawthorn?
Well, it was surreal. It was very much the definition of a local draftee. I was living in Noble Park where I grew up. Hawthorn obviously trained at Waverley Park, which is not too far away. And then I went to school at Mazenod College, so it was all within a sort of a 5K radius, really. That it all happened for me. Um, and yeah, mate, like I remember at draft camp, the interview process was really exciting and really enjoyable. I got good vibes from Hawthorn, and they obviously enjoyed my player interview as well. And it was a great feeling to hear them call my name out on draft night. And yeah, I was just at home watching the telly, and yeah, didn't really think too much of it after, especially after pick 40. I didn't think my luck was going to come my way. I thought some teams might have been interested around that mark, but they chose other players. So yeah, I thought my dream was going to be dashed, but yeah, 53. I'll always remember that number. That's for sure.
Which question, or was there a particular question during a draft interview that you found a bit curly or a little bit quirky that sort of shocked you?
Not really, mate. Like I sort of approach the player interview process, and it's interesting now, being a part of a recruiting team with the Adelaide Crows. I obviously just had the combine over the weekend with the boys, and yeah, like I approached the player interviews when I was trying to get drafted very much in this sort of manner, Fletch, where it's just a conversation and questions pop up, and you obviously just answer them as genuine as you can and be yourself. But not too many curly questions. I do remember some clubs going pretty hard and challenging me in some ways where it be part of a game plan or some surprising questions to say the least. But no matter, I just spoke like this, and if they like me, they like me. If they didn't, then they didn't tell me.
And you didn't play any footy early on in the first couple of years of the Hawks due to back-to-back knee injuries. What was that like to deal with?
Yeah, mate, it's probably a unique introduction into the AFL system in many respects. I don't know too many 18-year-olds that get drafted, and their first impression's pretty good in their first pre-season, where I just wanted to work my ass off really and show that I was someone that's very much going to leave no stone unturned and work as hard as they can. But to do back to back knees when I was 18, 19, my first two seasons, literally that they were the first 2 years of my contract, and I wasn't really able to get on the pitch. So to show no games in terms of performance, but to still gain some sort of respect from the locker room and the coaches. Yeah, it was different, but I was glad that Hawthorn kept me on, and eventually I was able to show that I was worthy of obviously playing a game and representing the jumper.
And you made your AFL debut in round 18, 2014 against the Sydney Swans at the MCG. What do you remember from your debut game?
Yeah, I think it was close to 90,000, Fletch. I remember I was wearing the sub, which I think it might have been one of the first years or first seasons, sorry, where they introduced that rule. I came on halfway through the third. Yeah, really heated contest. Champions of the game, left, right, centre. Adam Goods was still out there, and obviously Buddy Franklin and all the champions on the Hawthorn side. So, in terms of an introduction into AFL, doesn't really get too much better than that. But yeah, it was hard to get into the game. I was able to get a couple of touches, but I think more importantly, we got the win, and it was very much like a finals atmosphere.
And what was it like to get the win in your first game as well? It must have been a great thrill.
Yeah, yeah. I always tend to say this, but I felt like represented a lot of people in the background as well. Like it was obviously reward for hard work for me personally, or a lot of hours in the gym and running a lot of laps by myself, and you know swimming the same lane at the pool hours on end. But I still had my family, the rehab staff, coaches, teammates. a lot of support behind me that wanted to see me, succeed in a lot of ways. And yeah, to get that win, I think holistically it was just such a special moment for not just me, but for so many.
And what was it like as well to play your first full year of footy in 3 years back in 2014?
Yeah, good question, Fletch. Like, to be honest, it was really a simple approach in a lot of respects. It was one, get back out there, but two, more so, enjoy the game again. It's felt so foreign for a long time. 2 years out, being held back in a lot of ways. Yeah, just go out there, try and get a kick, have fun with my mates, and see if the performances sort of stack up towards, gaining a debut or earning some sort of respect performance-wise. And luckily, I was able to do that. But yeah, it was a little bit interesting. I was very rusty to start with, but I was having a lot of fun.
At any point during your career, did you lose the passion or love for the game of footy?
Um, it was probably after my third Fletch. To be honest, I thought I was past that in my life where I did back-to-back knees and was able to play a whole season of footy and obviously debut and have some really good individual accolades along with team success. Um, and then going into the next season after that, I was playing some, even better footy for the first half of that season. And to go down again, I just thought it was not fair. So I needed to take a lot of time to process that, um, get my head clear, and prepared for the fact that I was going to go through it a third time. But once that was settled, I was eager to, put the work in again and try and get back out there. Um, it was a bit of a similar feeling after the fourth one as well, this time out of the AFL system. A little bit of lost in no man's land where to go from here. But again, I was able to process that, have some time to myself, get away, and then sort of approach the fourth rehab in a bit of an unconventional way, which we'll probably touch on later. But um, after processing that, yeah, I was still very much passionate about the game and back into it.
We certainly will get into those ACL injuries a little later on. In 2014, you won the JJ Liston Trophy, polling 20 votes. What was it like to claim the VFL Best and Fairest award?
Unexpected. Like I said just before, I was sort of coming back after 2 days trying to enjoy the game again. Really simple approach. Um, but then I felt comfortable at the level, especially at VFL level. I was wanting to earn the respect of my teammates and coaches and the opposition as well. Thankfully, the performances, stacked up, and I was playing some really consistent footy. Not perfect. I could have used the ball better at times, and obviously used better options, maybe by through my disposals. But in terms of being able to have an impact on the game, that was pretty consistent. And thankfully, I was getting recognised more so by the coaches with some, consistent emergency call-ups, and then eventually led to a debut. But never in my wildest dreams did I think that I was going to get that individual award that VFL night. So when I heard my name called out, I was pretty shocked. And I think during my speech, I sort of hinted at the fact that I was sort of coming for a free feed and ended up coming home with a medal. So yeah, I think my family were even more surprised.
And in 2015, you were delisted by the Hawks at the end of that season, redrafted in the 2016 rookie drafts with pick 52. What was it like to be delisted, but then to get another chance?
Yeah, the communication with the Hawks was always really clear, and that made me feel comfortable. Look, it made a lot of sense. I was going to be basically on an inactive list for a decent amount of time again. So for them to open up a spot on their list just made sense, and I was more than accepting of that as well. For them to still want to hold me on their list overall, pretty thankful, mate. So again, for the 2015 season, for the best part of 6 months, I was going to be rehabbing and not out on the field as I complete the 12-month block of rehab for the knee. Being on the rookie list, like I said, just made the most sense.
And what was it like to be in and around the Hawthorn Football Club and on the list during that three-peat and the three premierships?
Yeah, I look back now, mate, and I'd probably um, cherish and admire it even more so. Like to be a part of a culture to a club that you know lived and breathed success for a long, long time. Um, it's not something that comes by too often at all. And even though for the best part of it, I was captain of rehab, so to speak. It was still really special. You could see the standards being set by everyone, and everyone obviously had the same goal of that team success. So it was pretty special, man. I'll never forget it.
And you were then delisted again in 2016. You didn't find another club to continue your AFL journey. How hard was that to deal with?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it was tough. I still put myself out there after being delisted, even though as a commodity I wasn't really all that attractive. Like a two-game player with three knees. I don't think there would be too many clubs that'd take a chance on me. But I still contacted every club, sent them letters, was very proactive and on the front foot, to a point where, a lot of clubs actually came back to me and admired the fact that I was really keen to, you know, get another lifeline. And they knew me as a person, and as a player. So for a lot of clubs to get back to me and give me some constructive feedback and some, words of advice. I remember Brisbane being one where Fags just got the job there, and my good mate and Dale Tapping was assistant coach there as well, and they considered it, but obviously the prospect of bringing a player on that's injured like me, they probably wanted to see some continuity, and that was probably the overarching feedback that I got from a lot of clubs where they wanted to see me play consecutive footy for a sustained amount of period of time. So yeah, I just got to work, mate. I signed with Collingwood VFL. Yeah, it was meant to be. I was soon to come to a fourth ACL earlier in that season. Even though personally, I think yeah, I was probably playing the best footy of my career early that year. So yeah, tough pill to swallow, but yeah, life goes on.
And you mentioned joining Collingwood's VFL side and you mentioned playing some of your best footy of your career. How did you find your time with Collingwood's VFL program?
Yeah, great, mate. Jared Rivers was the head coach there. We got along really, really well. He's a great guy and made me feel really comfortable. The boys there were second to none, mate. Jack Hellier led the helm there as skipper, and we got along really well. Became really good mates, and look really thankful that a club like Collingwood, especially their VFL program, let alone their AFL program, wrapped their arms around me, embraced me who I was as a person and as a player. I couldn't say anything nicer really about that footy club. I'm pretty lucky to have spent two portions of my career at two really well respected and professional environments like that.
So we sort of touched on the first two ACLs a little earlier, but in July 2015 you tore your ACL in your right knee for a third time in Box Hill's VFL match against Coburg. What was running through your head when you realised you had injured your knee again?
Yeah, it's probably more frustration, Fletch. Like I was knocking on the door of you know breaking into the AFL side again, and I'd got some feedback from Clarko regarding performance and what I needed to do in order to get back into the side, and I felt like I was doing that. I was consistently named emergency, which was a bit of a carrot dangled in front of me as well. So for me, my initial reaction, mate, was that I was so close to getting back into that AFL side and adding games onto my career, only to succumb to an injury that I thought I was past. So yeah, pretty disappointing to be honest. And yeah, I had to take a fair bit of time to process that before delving into rehab again.
How did you sort of process it? Because I imagine it would have been quite difficult, especially given that it was your third injury.
Yeah, I was three for three, mate. I didn't really have any injuries in between that, in terms of other parts of my body or anything like that. But yeah, I really did need to go away. I think I booked a holiday pretty quickly. Um, the the rehab staff at Hawthorn, Phil Merriman, who's a good mate of mine, Anthony Fernan, um, who was the physio as well. Look, we all sat down, Jack Russell as well. We all sat down, sort of mapped out a plan ahead in terms of one taking some time off and then delving back into it. I think the best part of it was the fact that they were really understanding of, mentally it was going to be pretty tough a third time round, let alone doing it first and second time. But yeah, once I was ready and accepted it for what it was, as you can tell, mate, I don't really hold back, so I just dive straight back into it, mate, and was eager to fix my body again.
And then in 2017, you unfortunately ruptured your ACL in your third game for Collingwood's VFL side against Box Hill, ironically, suffering your fourth ACL injury. What was your how did you come to terms with that injury as well?
Yeah, I think the fourth one, mate, was actually out at Sandringham, that third game. My fifth ACL was against Box Hill, so the curtain call on my career was against my old side. But yeah, the fourth one was it was just so innocuous, mate. I sort of I remember the incident. It really wasn't too much. I just got knocked off balance a little bit during a tackle, but I knew deep down, and I was walking off, looking up at the coach's box and looking straight at Jared Rivers, shaking my head, basically thinking the worst of the worst, because it was a feeling that was so familiar in terms of my knee not being quite stable. Funnily enough, at quarter time, I was doing all these tests to see if it was what it was, because I wasn't in any pain or anything like that. It just felt a bit wonky. But yeah, a couple of days later, look, we went and got a scan and confirmed the worst. And it was like I said, I think I felt like pre-season at Collingwood VFL. I was playing midfield there and was able to play some really good footy, showcase some stuff that I sort of had a breath of fresh air where I was amongst a whole new football club, new teammates, new coaches. I wanted to show what I could do, and I was playing some pretty good footy, mate. So to be struck down so early in the season, never really got to showcase too much more.
And then your fifth ACL was against the Box Hill Hawks, as you mentioned. What do you remember from that injury? And then how did you sort of come to terms with the fact that your career might be over?
I think that was the overarching thought, Fletch, with that fifth ACL. Even though I easily could have called time after the third one or the fourth one, I was pretty much at peace, mate. After coming off the ground, that was it. At the age of 26, 27, I didn't want to put myself through that physically or mentally. Look, it was a really um, strange sort of feeling walking off the field because when it happened, again, it was sort of innocuous. I got tackled after disposing of the footy, or I got bumped after disposing of the footy, and I landed really awkwardly, but I was in a heap of pain. I knew straight away what had happened. Once that pain subsided, my knee started to swell up pretty quickly, so I walked off. The whole game was paused basically. And yeah, both teams sort of got around me, patting me on the back as I was walking off the field from the far wing to the bench, and then standing ovation from the crowd. They obviously knew me, both sides, Collingwood and Box Hill. Um, yeah, I was struggling to hold it all together, mate. It was pretty upsetting, but um, yeah, pretty interesting sort of circumstance where I was representing my new team, playing against my old team, and my career was sort of all done.
And if you had the chance, would you go back and change anything from your career, or are you sort of happy with how it all played out?
Yeah, mate. Like it's a good point that you bring up. Like I could have played more games, yeah, sure. But in terms of the journey and the person that I am today, I'm pretty happy with who I am, the values that I hold, and the experiences sort of hardened me in terms of character and resilience and all that sort of stuff. So I wouldn't really change too much, mate. To be honest, everyone's got their own journey, as cliche as that sounds, and I was pretty lucky and thankful for the opportunities that I did have, the moments that I did share, and um, yeah, man, I still think I had some sort of a career one way or another.
And you were Collingwood's runner in 2018. What was it like to be the runner for the AFL side at the Collingwood Footy Club?
Yeah, it was like I said, it was a little bit unconventional in terms of my approach to rehab. So whilst I was running out there, um, in my mind initially, it was a way to get the kilometres in rehab wise, to strengthen my knee. I was obviously recovering from my fourth ACL at the time. And lo and behold, whilst running, I've sort of gained the passion again for footy and wanting to be a player again. But mate, the experience was unreal. Something that I'll always remember. Bucks and the AFL football program there at the Pies were second to none, mate. They really embraced me, and I loved the role of being their runner. It helped me one become more of a leader as well when I did return to the VFL program, and two, I just thought, being out there on an AFL ground was so far away in terms of being a reality for me again. Yeah, to share the field in some way was pretty special to me as well.
And in the 2018 AFL Grand Final, you became involved in the play during that unfortunate incident. For listeners who might not be aware about the incident, what is your recollection of what unfolded?
Yeah, mate, it's again probably another unfortunate sort of moment in my career. I think deep down I was, um, yeah, just not really sure what to do in that scenario. The footy was coming at me in a position where I didn't think it was gonna where I didn't think it was gonna come, and yeah, I tried to get out of the way, and unfortunately ran across a couple of paths. But in terms of a moment, yeah, I definitely should have probably been more aware, and I own that, and I've discussed it before on a couple of other podcasts and TV shows, which have given me a voice and I suppose allowed me to explain my side of things. And end of the day, it was an unfortunate event that obviously involved me, and something that I'm taking stride and don't let it define me by any means. But yeah, it was. Oh, as you can imagine, Fletch. I think it's not easy when you sort of make a mistake in front of 100,000 people, and the result is what it is. But um, funnily enough, mate, my response to that in a really, um, I suppose, different way to what some others would have done was to go back out the next season and try and captain the VFL side and not let it be the defining moment of my time at Collingwood. And um, yeah, I don't know why I'm wired like that, but that's what I did.
And you mentioned Nathan Buckley. He's obviously gotten a new role at the Cats as an assistant coach. How did you find working with Nathan Buckley at Collingwood when you were the runner?
Yeah, firstly, congrats to Bucks. That's I'm really excited to see how he goes at the Cats, and I'm sure that he'll make the most of that. Yeah, couldn't say anything nicer about Bucks, mate. He wrapped his arms around me in a pretty tough time after that granny, and throughout that whole season, mate, to see how he operated and coached and delivered messages to the players. Yeah, I have no doubt that he'll be obviously in the AFL caper again soon, obviously with the Cats, but leading aside in due time as well. So, no, mate, he's a great coach, great person.
Do you think he'll coach the Tasmania Devils down the track?
Not sure. I hope so. I think he's keen. But as we can see, Fletch, he's pretty good at his media job as well. Knows the game well. Speaks really well. When he speaks, you listen, and he knows what he's talking about.
You're also a part of the Adelaide Crows recruiting team. How did that role come about for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Really interesting, mate. I think I'm in my fourth season now. Sort of a full circle moment. I went from being a bloke that wanted to get drafted and being sort of interviewed by Adelaide once upon a time, to now being a part of that whole process and trying to bring players in. So, look, I love it. I absolutely love it. Again, probably after the fifth knee, Fletch, I've lost that passion for footy. And then I stumbled across these roles where, thankfully, I was able to leave a really good lasting impression on some good people where they forwarded my name onto these roles, and they thought highly of me as a character, which I'm really humbled by. Yeah, my journey back into, I suppose, the AFL environment sort of started with um, Nick Dalsano offered me a role as AFLW assistant coach at the Saints for a season. And then I went to Caulfield Grammar after that to coach the girls' footy program there. I've just wrapped up that actually 2 days ago, Fletch. So we won 4 premierships in a row there for their girls' program, which I'm really, really grateful for. And I absolutely adored coaching those girls. Um, but Hamish Ogilvie saw me whilst coaching at the Saints, um, saw me on telly, and they had this role open up as part of their recruiting team, and I had to think about it for a couple of days. But once I got to meet Justin Reid and the team, it was just a whole new venture that I never really thought about. And then once I started, I haven't really looked back, mate. I've loved every moment of it.
And you mentioned that AFLW assistant coaching role with the Saints. How did you find that role?
Literally, mate, just a phone call out of the blue, and that's where I was making that, I suppose, comment before, where I must have left a good impression somewhere because, yeah, Nick sort of came by my phone number and gave me a call out of the blue, and I thought, why not? I'd never really coached before, but I knew that I was good at, I suppose, making connections with people and had some sort of an understanding of the game and gave it a go. And yeah, it was a great experience, mate. I'm very grateful for that opportunity. Obviously, led to the Caulfield role and in turn the Adelaide recruiting role as well.
And you mentioned that Caulfield role. You won 4 flags in a row with Caulfield Grammar. How did you find that role, and how did you sort of enjoy seeing the girls get that success as well?
Yeah, mate. It's I think that's some of the best times of my footballing career holistically. To coach the girls program for 4 seasons and to obviously get the ultimate success in that competition 4 times in a row. Um, to be honest, mate, coaching those girls, they were the highlight of my week every week. They were able to, yeah, really absorb and want to learn and get better with everything that I was trying to teach them, and they embraced everything that I was trying to suggest in terms of game plan, culture, that sort of stuff. There was a whole support team behind me as well, with Renee, Petra, and Matt there, assistant coaches and team manager. But we were able to develop a really good culture as a holistic squad, and the performances looked after themselves, mate. It was overall, it was just a really enjoyable environment where, as simple as it sounds, there were a bunch of girls having fun, playing an exciting brand of footy, trying to make each other better.
And just finally as well, you mentioned that you finished up in that role 2 days ago. How did that decision come about for you?
Yeah, mate. I just got a lot on my plate, to be honest. I have a mortgage broking business of my own that I've had post footy, so 6 or 7 years now. I've got the recruiting role at the Crows that I'm hoping to move up in and obviously dedicate more time into. Um, and then, yeah, I think something had to give to juggle 3 jobs and to give 100% in all three is a pretty tough gig. So I think my time was sort of up in the coaching realms in that aspect. I didn't think I had too much more to give, and I think I really wanted to probably dedicate some more time into the other aspects as well.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Alex. It's quite a remarkable journey, a remarkable story. So thanks for sharing it.
No worries, you're a good man, Fletch. Thanks for having me.